Whoopi Goldberg flight from U.S. as Elon Musk's $800 million lawsuit shocks the nation. Before we move forward, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon to get notifications from us. Whoopi Goldberg had always been a fixture in American pop culture, a bold, unfiltered voice in a world of polished celebrities. So, when news broke that she had fled the United States, it sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Speculation ran wild. Was it personal? Was she under some kind of threat? And why of all times had she chosen this exact moment to disappear? It all began with a simple legal filing. Elon Musk, the billionaire tech mogul behind Tesla and SpaceX, had launched a massive $800 million defamation lawsuit against Goldberg. The details were initially unclear, but the implications were anything but. According to the lawsuit, Musk claimed Goldberg had made damaging and false statements about him during a recent live broadcast on The View, the popular talk show where she served as one of the co-hosts. Musk alleged that these comments not only hurt his reputation but caused significant financial losses, leading him to file one of the most substantial defamation lawsuits in modern history. In the court documents, Musk's legal team accused Goldberg of intentionally spreading false information about his companies and personal life. They argued that her comments, which had been aired publicly to millions of viewers, were not only untrue but harmful, calling them a calculated smear campaign. Goldberg, on the other hand, denied the accusations, calling them baseless and a gross overreaction to what she described as a simple offhand remark. She maintained that her comments were made in the context of a broader discussion about corporate responsibility, not meant to defame anyone. The situation escalated quickly, with Musk's legal team working tirelessly to amplify the damage caused by Goldberg's alleged words. The media jumped into the frenzy, with headlines blaring the details of the lawsuit and broadcasting Musk's anger. Goldberg, who was known for her resilience and sharp tongue, remained silent. Yet, within days, reports surfaced that the TV personality had quietly left the country, reportedly heading to a destination where she could be far removed from the media circus that had grown around her. But why? The questions surrounding her departure were just as intriguing as the lawsuit itself. Sources close to Goldberg claimed that the decision to leave was one she didn't make lightly. Some speculated that she was simply trying to escape the mounting pressure of the case. Others hinted at a darker reason, perhaps a more personal connection to Musk, that had yet to be uncovered. Was there something more to their past than the public knew? Some even suggested that the lawsuit was a mere distraction from a deeper conflict between the two powerful figures, something much bigger than a simple defamation case. As the days passed, Goldberg's silence only added to the mystery. Her spokesperson declined to comment, and the usually outspoken actress-turned-talk show host remained out of the public eye. Meanwhile, Musk continued to make headlines for his high-profile tech ventures and his ongoing public persona as a fearless disruptor. Yet, beneath the surface, the lawsuit against Goldberg hung over him like a storm cloud. It was becoming increasingly clear that this wasn't just a legal battle between two celebrities, it had the potential to reverberate throughout both the entertainment and tech industries. For now, all anyone knew was that Whoopi Goldberg had vanished, and Elon Musk's lawsuit was only gaining momentum, but the question remained, what was really at the heart of this legal storm? The world waited with bated breath for what might come next. As Whoopi Goldberg's sudden departure from the U.S. made headlines, the narrative surrounding the $800 million lawsuit only deepened the intrigue. The media had quickly latched onto the story, with some outlets speculating that Goldberg's flight wasn't just an attempt to escape legal trouble, but a reaction to something far more personal. It seemed as if the lawsuit was only the tip of the iceberg. Goldberg's fans and critics alike were left wondering what could be the connection between the iconic comedian and the billionaire tech mogul Elon Musk. The two were hardly strangers, yet their relationship was not one that had ever been widely discussed in public. As details of the lawsuit trickled out, a shocking revelation came to light. Goldberg and Musk had crossed paths years earlier, long before either of them were embroiled in the current media storm. In the early 2000s, both had attended a high-profile charity event in Silicon Valley, a gathering where tech moguls, Hollywood elites, and influential figures mingled freely. While the event had been widely covered in the media, little attention had been paid to the interactions between Musk and Goldberg that night. Those who were present at the event, however, remembered it differently. According to several sources, Goldberg and Musk had shared a private conversation that, unbeknownst to many, lasted for nearly an hour. At the time, Musk was still on the rise, but his status as a visionary tech entrepreneur was already becoming apparent. Goldberg, ever the curious intellectual, had apparently taken an interest in his work, and they spoke at length about the future of technology, artificial intelligence, and the intersection of entertainment with tech innovation. For a while, it seemed like a simple exchange of ideas. But there were whispers of a deeper connection, a mutual respect that could have evolved into something more, had circumstances allowed. One source, who was close to both figures at the time, later claimed that there had been a brief but intense friendship between them, with Goldberg offering advice to Musk on handling the pressure of being in the public eye. Over time, however, that connection had slowly faded, overshadowed by their increasingly divergent paths. Musk went on to dominate the tech world, becoming a billionaire and a public figure, while Goldberg remained a beloved icon of television and film. But what had happened in the years since? According to those close to Goldberg, the two had crossed paths once again, albeit under much less friendly circumstances. In recent months, Goldberg had been outspoken about tech companies and the power they wield over the public, particularly in terms of privacy and the influence of social media platforms. She had made pointed remarks about the unchecked power of figures like Musk, especially when it came to the ethics of artificial intelligence and the increasing dominance of tech companies in everyday life. It was clear that these opinions were not just off-the-cuff remarks, they were deeply held beliefs, shaped by Goldberg's own experiences in the entertainment industry. Musk, on the other hand, was a man who had built an empire on the principles of innovation and disruption. His business practices and personal philosophy often attracted controversy, but it was the unflinching confidence with which he pursued his goals that made him a polarizing figure. Some saw him as a genius, while others viewed him as a reckless disruptor who didn't consider the long-term consequences of his actions. It seemed that Goldberg's criticisms of Musk, whether intentional or not, had struck a nerve. As the lawsuit continued to play out, both in the courts and in the court of public opinion, it became clear that the stakes were much higher than anyone had anticipated. Some believed Musk was using the lawsuit to silence a prominent critic, while others suspected that there were personal motivations behind the legal action, motivations that could unravel the carefully crafted personas of both Goldberg and Musk. The question now was whether the lawsuit was merely the beginning of a much deeper conflict, one that could alter the balance of power in both the entertainment and tech industries. Goldberg, meanwhile, had not been heard from publicly. Some speculated that her quiet departure was a tactic to avoid the press and the growing scrutiny surrounding her. Yet as Musk's team continued to push the lawsuit forward, more questions began to emerge about her possible role in the larger narrative. Was she being targeted because of her outspoken views on technology, or was there something more personal at play? For now, the world watched closely as the legal battle escalated, hoping that the truth would eventually come to light. As weeks passed and the lawsuit gained more media attention, a sense of mounting tension enveloped both Hollywood and Silicon Valley. The legal battle between Whoopi Goldberg and Elon Musk was no longer just about a defamation case. It had evolved into a larger, more complex story, with countless questions and rumors swirling. For those closest to the two public figures, it was beginning to feel like the unraveling of a long-held secret, a story that had been hidden in plain sight, only now coming to light with devastating consequences. The public's interest in Goldberg's sudden departure continued to grow. Some wondered if she had left the country to escape the legal battle, while others speculated that she was hiding from something far worse. There was a sense that despite her towering presence in the entertainment world, Goldberg was no longer the person she once seemed to be. Her silence was deafening, and it fueled an atmosphere of suspicion that seemed to follow her every move. Meanwhile, Elon Musk had gone on the offensive, doubling down on his claims. His legal team issued a series of statements alleging that Goldberg's comments had caused real harm to his companies and their stock prices. But what was the true motivation behind Musk's lawsuit? Behind the scenes, there was growing speculation that the lawsuit was less about defamation and more about power. Musk had never been one to shy away from controversy. His public persona was that of a man unafraid to challenge authority, question societal norms, and change the world. But in his pursuit of pushing boundaries, Musk had also made enemies, and some whispered that Goldberg's criticism of his empire was the final straw. However, the deeper question was whether this lawsuit was really just an attempt to silence a high-profile critic, or if it had deeper personal motivations tied to the events of their past. As Goldberg remained absent from the spotlight, a former friend of hers came forward with an unexpected revelation. The source, who had been close to Goldberg for years, claimed that the relationship between the comedian and Musk was more complicated than the public had been led to believe. According to this person, Goldberg and Musk had shared a deeply personal connection in the past, one that had evolved into a bitter fallout. It was revealed that years ago, Goldberg had played a key role in helping Musk navigate some of his early public challenges. In return, Musk had promised to support her career in Hollywood and entertainment. This arrangement had never been made public, but according to those who knew them, it was a significant part of their relationship. However, as Musk's success skyrocketed, tensions began to surface. Sources claimed that Musk had started to drift away from his promises, citing the growing complexities of his companies and his increasing obsession with space exploration. Goldberg, frustrated by Musk's lack of follow-through, began speaking out publicly against tech moguls like him, particularly about their growing influence on everyday life. As the years passed, their once positive relationship turned sour. There were even rumors of a heated confrontation between the two, in which Musk allegedly dismissed Goldberg's concerns as irrelevant in the grand scheme of his global ambitions. This meeting, which had remained a well-kept secret until now, was said to be the breaking point for Goldberg, marking the end of their personal connection and setting the stage for the public feud that was now unfolding in the courts. The revelation of this hidden history caused shockwaves in both the tech and entertainment worlds. The question on everyone's mind was, had this long-standing grudge finally boiled over into the current lawsuit? Was this not just about one offhand comment on The View, but rather years of unresolved tension that had reached a breaking point? Many started to believe that this lawsuit was the culmination of years of anger and betrayal, something that neither party could ignore anymore. Meanwhile, Goldberg's legal team continued to hold their cards close, offering little in the way of public defense. Sources close to Goldberg suggested that she was dealing with personal matters outside of the lawsuit, and some speculated that her departure from the U.S. had been an attempt to escape the overwhelming media attention. But others wondered if her silence was part of a larger strategy, one that could eventually turn the tide in her favor. As the legal battle continued, it became clear that this wasn't just about a celebrity dispute. It was a clash of two massive egos, one from the tech world, and one from the world of entertainment, and neither was willing to back down. The nation was on edge, eagerly waiting for the next twist in a saga that was turning into a battle for power, control, and ultimately the truth. The lawsuit between Elon Musk and Whoopi Goldberg had grown into a media spectacle unlike any the public had seen before. But as the case progressed, it became evident that the true motivations behind the battle were far more complicated than anyone had initially thought. What began as a seemingly straightforward defamation case now hinted at a much darker, deeply personal story, a tale of ambition, betrayal, and hidden secrets. Goldberg's absence from the U.S. continued to raise eyebrows. For weeks, her team remained silent, offering only cryptic statements that left the public and the press in the dark. But in the quiet moments when the cameras weren't rolling, Goldberg's legal team was working tirelessly behind the scenes. They knew they were up against one of the most powerful men in the world, but they also knew that if they played their cards right, they could expose a side of Musk that no one had seen before. In a surprising move, Goldberg's attorneys released a statement to the media, offering a different perspective on the case. They claimed that Musk's lawsuit was not just a legal tactic, but a strategic attempt to undermine Goldberg's credibility, one rooted in the tech mogul's personal history with the comedian. According to her lawyers, the roots of the current dispute lay in Musk's desire to silence her influence in the ongoing debate about the power of technology. As Goldberg had become more vocal in her criticism of Musk's companies, particularly Tesla and SpaceX, Musk had allegedly used his influence to sway public opinion against her. The lawsuit, her legal team argued, was Musk's final move in a long-standing campaign to diminish her voice. But the most shocking revelation was still to come. Goldberg's lawyers claimed that they had uncovered a hidden document, one that had been suppressed by Musk's legal team for years. The document, a series of emails and private messages between Musk and his inner circle, revealed that the tech mogul had once approached Goldberg with a highly controversial request. He wanted her to publicly support his push for the widespread use of artificial intelligence. In return, Musk promised to make substantial financial contributions to several of Goldberg's charitable causes and her media projects. At first, Goldberg had been hesitant, recognizing the dangers of aligning herself too closely with Musk and his ventures. But according to her attorneys, Musk had pressed hard, offering what seemed like an irresistible deal. The pressure to endorse Musk's vision for the future of AI was mounting, and Musk made it clear that his support would be pivotal for Goldberg's career. However, after serious consideration, Goldberg rejected the offer, citing her concerns about the ethical implications of AI and the potential for tech companies to exploit vulnerable populations. This, her legal team claimed, was the turning point in their relationship. As Goldberg began speaking out against Musk and his industry, Musk's once charming persona shifted into one of vindictiveness. Sources close to Goldberg suggested that Musk became increasingly bitter, holding a grudge against the comedian for her refusal to align with his views. It was during this period that tensions began to boil over, culminating in the lawsuit. But what Musk's legal team didn't expect was that Goldberg had a secret of her own, something far more powerful than any lawsuit or defamation claim. In response to the leaked emails, Goldberg's team had begun to gather evidence of Musk's private dealings, ones that involved the use of his companies to influence not just public opinion but political figures as well. It was a bombshell that had the potential to turn the entire case on its head. Musk, who had always painted himself as a defender of free speech and innovation, was now being accused of manipulating the very systems he had once championed. Goldberg's supporters were quick to rally behind her, and a growing wave of public opinion began to shift in her favor. What had once been seen as a simple case of a celebrity feud was now becoming a battle between the power of the tech industry and the voices of dissent. As more and more details about Musk's attempts to silence Goldberg emerged, it became clear that the stakes were much higher than anyone had anticipated. This was no longer just a legal case, it was a fight for control over the future of media, technology, and the public's right to speak freely. Goldberg, from her undisclosed location, remained resolute. She knew that the truth was on her side, but she also understood the personal cost of bringing it to light. As the lawsuit continued to unfold, both sides braced for what was to come. The hidden truths that had been buried for so long were finally starting to surface, and there was no turning back. The tension that had built up over the past several months was now reaching its breaking point. The courtroom was set for the final showdown between Elon Musk and Whoopi Goldberg. What had begun as a seemingly straightforward defamation lawsuit had evolved into a larger-than-life battle, one that threatened to reshape the boundaries between entertainment and technology. The stakes were no longer just about an $800 million claim, they were about power, influence, and the right to challenge the status quo. Goldberg, having remained largely out of the public eye during the legal proceedings, was now preparing for her return to the United States. The mounting pressure from the media and the public had reached a boiling point, and it seemed like there was no way to avoid the inevitable confrontation. With her legal team having uncovered damning evidence about Musk's tactics, Goldberg had no intention of backing down now. As the day of the final hearing arrived, the courtroom was filled with a palpable sense of anticipation. Lawyers, reporters, and spectators from both sides crowded the room, awaiting the moment that would finally expose the truth. Musk, dressed in his signature sharp suit, was accompanied by his powerful legal team, exuding the confidence that had made him a dominant figure in the business world. On the other side, Goldberg sat quietly, her demeanor calm but determined, her legal team at the ready. She had never been one to shy away from a challenge, and this was no exception. Before the trial began, a surprise twist shook the courtroom. Goldberg's legal team presented a new piece of evidence, an audio recording of a private conversation between Musk and a high-ranking Tesla executive. In the recording, Musk was heard discussing the need to crush anyone who publicly challenged his vision for the future of AI and tech innovation. He mentioned Goldberg by name, stating that her criticisms could tarnish his reputation and undermine his ambitions. The recording was nothing short of explosive. It was clear now that Musk's motivations went far beyond the realm of a simple defamation case. He had been actively working to silence dissenters, and Goldberg was merely one of many targets. Musk's team scrambled to discredit the recording, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. The public, already skeptical of Musk's influence in both the tech and media industries, began to question his true intentions. Was he really the visionary he claimed to be, or was he simply a ruthless businessman, willing to crush anyone who stood in his way? Goldberg's lawyers seized the opportunity, arguing that Musk's actions were not just a personal vendetta, but part of a larger pattern of corporate manipulation. They painted a picture of a man who had used his immense wealth and power to control narratives, suppress free speech, and silence critics. The courtroom became a battleground for the very soul of the tech industry, with Musk's empire on trial, as much as Goldberg's character. As the trial reached its climax, Musk took the stand. His testimony was full of calculated deflections, his usual charm masking the growing frustration he felt. For the first time in the entire ordeal, Musk was forced to confront the very things he had long avoided: his unchecked power, his public image, and the potential fallout from his actions. The once invincible tech mogul appeared momentarily vulnerable, his confidence beginning to crack under the weight of the revelations. Goldberg, however, had remained steadfast throughout. Her defense was simple yet powerful. She had every right to speak her mind, especially when it came to the ethical implications of Musk's ventures. She had never intended to defame him. She had only spoken out because she felt it was necessary to address the growing concerns about tech giants like Musk and their control over modern society. Her words, she argued, were not an attack but a call for accountability. In the final moments of the trial, the judge delivered a bombshell decision. The lawsuit was dismissed. The judge found that Musk's claims of defamation were not substantiated, and that the evidence presented by Goldberg's team had revealed a troubling pattern of behavior that went far beyond the boundaries of the case. The ruling was a massive victory for Goldberg, one that not only cleared her name but also sent a powerful message about the dangers of unchecked corporate power. As the courtroom erupted in applause, Goldberg stood tall, her expression one of quiet satisfaction. She had emerged victorious, but she knew that the real battle was just beginning. The ruling had exposed Musk's manipulative tactics to the world, and while he might have won many battles in his career, this particular war had been lost. For Goldberg, it wasn't just about defending herself, it was about taking a stand for those who felt their voices had been silenced by the likes of Musk and other powerful figures. As she walked out of the courtroom, the weight of the moment settled on her. The case had not only changed the trajectory of her life, but had also sparked a larger conversation about the intersection of entertainment, media, and tech. She had stood up to a giant and had come out on top, but she understood the ripple effects of this battle would continue to shape the industry for years to come. The world was watching, and now they knew. Whoopi Goldberg wasn't just a Hollywood legend, she was a force to be reckoned with.